What if ancient religions were describing identical spiritual forces? Here's something that's going to completely shift your perspective on spirituality. What if the angels you've heard about in church, the gods of ancient India, and the demons of Persian religion are actually the same entities, just seen through different cultural lenses? I know that sounds wild, but stay with me, because the evidence is staggering. We're talking about linguistic connections, historical parallels, and theological patterns that are too precise to be coincidental. Let's start with something concrete. Archangel Michael in Christianity is described as the supreme warrior, commander of heavenly armies, the one who defeats Satan in the book of Revelation. Now look at Indra in Hindu tradition, king of the devas, wielder of the thunderbolt Vira, slayer of the demon Vritra, protector of cosmic order. Two completely different religions, separated by thousands of miles and centuries of development, yet they're describing nearly identical archetypal figures. Same role, same warrior essence, same cosmic function. But here's where it gets really mind-blowing. In Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion that predates Christianity and runs parallel to Hinduism, there's this concept of devas, demonic entities that oppose the supreme god Ahura Mazda. Here's the kicker. The word deva in Persian means demon, but in Sanskrit, deva means god. Same linguistic root, opposite meanings. One tradition's gods became another tradition's demons. That's not random, that's a theological flip that tells us these religions were in direct conversation with each other. Think about the implications here. Gabriel announces divine births and delivers revelations in both Christianity and Islam. In Hinduism, Narada serves the exact same function, a celestial messenger traveling between worlds, delivering divine news, inspiring devotion. Raphael is the healing angel in Christian tradition. Dhanvantari is the divine physician in Hindu cosmology who brought healing knowledge to humanity. These aren't vague similarities, these are precise functional equivalents in completely separate religious systems. Now, here's your action step, and this is important. Grab your phone right now and search for one Christian angel you're familiar with. Could be any of them. Then search for Hindu devas and their functions. Write down the parallels you find. This simple exercise will show you patterns that most religious education deliberately ignores, because it challenges the idea that these traditions are fundamentally separate and incompatible. If this connection between angels and gods already has your mind racing, drop the word awakening in the comments. What surprises you most about these parallels? And if you want to keep uncovering the sacred mysteries they don't teach in traditional settings, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. How did Zoroastrianism flip the spiritual script completely? Let me show you something that scholars have known for decades, but rarely discuss publicly. Zoroastrianism didn't just borrow ideas from neighboring religions, it systematically inverted their entire spiritual hierarchy. This wasn't an accident or misunderstanding. This was deliberate theological warfare, and understanding it changes everything about how we view angels, gods, and demons. Across these traditions, Zarathustra, the Persian prophet who founded Zoroastrianism around 3,500 years ago, created something revolutionary for his time: strict ethical dualism. On one side, you have Ahura Mazda and his divine helpers called Amesha Spentas. On the other side, you have Ahriman and his army of devas. But here's what blows the whole thing wide open. Many of these so-called demons have names that are linguistically identical to Hindu gods, just with completely flipped moral values. Take Indra again, that glorious warrior king of Hindu devas. In the Zoroastrian Avesta texts, Indra appears as a violent, chaotic deva that must be rejected. Sorva, listed as a demon in Persian scripture, connects etymologically to Sarva, an aspect of the Hindu god Shiva. Nanhiathia, another Zoroastrian demon, links directly to the Nasatya, Vedic healing deities. You see what happened here? One religion literally took the other's gods and reclassified them as evil forces. Why would Zarathustra do something this extreme? Historical context gives us the answer. Persians and Indo-Aryans shared common ancestral roots. They spoke related languages, practiced similar rituals, honored comparable pantheons. But at some critical point, there was an ideological split so profound that it required complete theological separation. Zarathustra rejected polytheism, animal sacrifice, and the ritualistic practices of Vedic religion. To mark this break decisively, he had to demonize the old system, literally turn its gods into demons. Now watch how this pattern continues forward in time. When Christianity emerges centuries later, absorbs this Zoroastrian dualistic framework wholesale. The concept of angels battling demons in cosmic warfare doesn't exist in early Judaism the same way. But after the Babylonian exile, when Jewish scholars had intense contact with Persian thought, suddenly these ideas explode into Jewish literature. Books like Enoch and Daniel introduced named angels, celestial hierarchies, apocalyptic battles between light and darkness, all Persian concepts. So we've got this incredible historical chain. Hinduism develops its devas, Zoroastrianism inverts them into devas, Judaism adopts the Persian framework during exile, Christianity inherits it and creates its own angelic hierarchy that ironically mirrors the original Hindu archetypes. It's like watching the same spiritual characters go through a theological costume change across centuries and continents. Try this exercise right now. Pick any demon from Christian tradition that you know. Search whether there's a Hindu or Persian deity with a similar name or function. The connections you'll discover will fundamentally challenge the black and white morality you've been taught about spiritual beings. If you're starting to see how these traditions are intertwined rather than separate, comment unveiled below. Which of these religious systems fascinates you most? Hit that like button if this content is expanding your understanding, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Why do Hindu demons share names with Persian gods? Get ready because this linguistic flip is going to rearrange everything you thought you knew about good and evil in religion. There's a perfect mirror inversion between Hinduism and Zoroastrianism that proves these weren't just influenced by each other, they were deliberately repositioning the same spiritual entities on opposite sides of the cosmic battlefield. In Vedic Hinduism, the asuras started out as powerful beings, some even benevolent, but over time, the tradition reframed them as adversaries of the devas, often translated as demons or titans. Meanwhile, in Persian Zoroastrianism, Ahura is the title of the supreme deity. Ahura Mazda literally translates to wise lord. Do you see it? Asura becomes Ahura. What one tradition gradually demonized, the other elevated to ultimate divinity. This isn't coincidence, this is evidence of a massive theological split. And it gets even more precise. The Sanskrit word deva means God, celestial being, divine entity. The Avestan word daeva means demon, deceiver, ill spirit. Perfect inversion. It's as if someone took the same spiritual dictionary and rewrote every definition with opposite meanings. This kind of systematic reversal doesn't happen accidentally, it marks profound cultural conflict, religious schism, the breaking apart of peoples who once shared the same spiritual worldview. Linguists and historians confirm this. Persians and Indo-Aryans descended from a common Proto-Indo-Iranian culture. They spoke variations of the same ancestral language, performed similar fire rituals, venerated personified natural forces. But at some pivotal moment in history, these groups diverged dramatically. Those who migrated into the Indian subcontinent developed Vedic Hinduism, maintaining their deva pantheon. Those who remained on the Iranian plateau followed Zarathustra and created Zoroastrianism, completely inverting the spiritual hierarchy. Now, here's where Christianity enters the picture in a fascinating way. When early Christian theologians were organizing their understanding of angels, where did they get their framework? Early Hebrew scriptures mention angels only sparingly, they're messengers, not a complex hierarchy. But after prolonged contact with Persian thought during and after the Babylonian captivity, Jewish texts suddenly explode with detailed angelology, named archangels, rank celestial orders, cosmic dualism, all bearing unmistakable Zoroastrian fingerprints. The seven Amesha Spentas of Zoroastrianism, the holy immortals, who serve Ahura Mazda, map almost perfectly onto the seven archangels of Christian tradition. Vo Humana represents good purpose, Ashava Hishta embodies truth, and righteousness. Kshatravarya manifests divine power. Different names, but functionally identical to Michael's leadership, Gabriel's messages, and Raphael's healing. Same organizational structure, just translated through different cultural vocabularies. Here's what you need to do. Up the Amesha Spentas and their specific roles in Zoroastrianism. Compare them directly with the functions of Christian archangels. Make a chart. If you're visual, you'll see undeniable structural parallels that reveal these aren't separate inventions, they're variations on a shared template. If this asura ahura reversal just rocked your understanding of religious truth, type mirror in the comments. Which inversion shocked you most? Give this video a like if you're loving these deep dives into hidden religious connections, and subscribe, because we're just getting started with these sacred secrets. What if every religion is mapping the same spiritual reality? Let's bring this full circle in a way that's going to fundamentally transform how you understand not just these three traditions, but spirituality itself. What if there's an objective spiritual dimension, a real plane of existence populated by conscious entities that have interacted with humanity since the beginning of recorded history? And what if different cultures, at different times and places, encountered these same beings and interpreted them through their own cultural, linguistic, and moral frameworks? The Hindus encountered these entities and called them devas, organized them into an elaborate pantheon, assigned them dominion over natural elements and states of consciousness. The Zoroastrian Persians met the same beings, but under Zarathustra's radical monotheistic vision, reclassified them into rigid dualism. Whatever serves Ahura Mazda is light, whatever doesn't is darkness. The Christians inherited that Persian structure, adapted it to Abrahamic monotheism, and developed the angelology we recognize today: Michael, Gabriel, and the entire celestial hierarchy. This isn't about forcing connections where none exist or promoting some vague, all religions are the same ideology. This is about hard evidence, linguistic, archaeological, textual, historical, showing how these traditions influenced each other across millennia. Zoroastrianism profoundly shaped late Judaism. Judaism birthed Christianity. Christianity expanded through regions where both Hinduism and Zoroastrianism already flourished. These religions didn't develop in isolated bubbles, they interacted, competed, borrowed, and transformed each other's ideas. Consider the massive implication here. Maybe there aren't true Christian angels versus false Hindu gods versus evil Zoroastrian demons. Maybe there are simply spiritual entities that transcend our human religious categories, and each tradition named and organized them according to its own wisdom and cultural limitations. What you call an angel, someone else calls a deva, another calls an ahura. Same being, different names. Different interpretations based on different theological needs. This doesn't diminish any faith, actually, it enriches every faith. It means there's something profoundly real and universal about human spiritual experience. All these traditions are pointing toward the same transcendent truths, just using different maps. When you understand multiple maps simultaneously, you see the spiritual territory with far more clarity and depth than any single tradition could provide alone. You're not losing your faith, you're gaining a panoramic view. Here's your final challenge for this week. Engage with the spiritual practice from a tradition outside your own. Could be Hindu meditation, Zoroastrian fire contemplation, Christian contemplative prayer, whatever calls to you. Approach it with genuine openness and sincerity. Notice whether the spiritual connection you feel is fundamentally different or surprisingly similar to what you already know. The results might astound you. If you made it this far and your entire perspective on spirituality just expanded, leave the word transcendence in the comments below. Share this video with someone who needs to understand that the world's spiritual traditions are siblings, not enemies. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because we're only scratching the surface of these mysteries that connect us all.